Day 70. Deuteronomy 13-15. If a prophet or dreamer of dreams arises among you and proclaims a sign or wonder to you, and if the sign or wonder he has spoken to you comes about, but he says, "Let us follow other gods, which you have not known, and let us worship them," you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. For the Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. You are to follow the Lord your God and fear him. Keep his commandments and listen to his voice, serve him and hold fast to him. Such a prophet or dreamer must be put to death, because he has advocated rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery. He has tried to turn you from the way in which the Lord your God has commanded you to walk. So you must purge the evil from among you. If your very own brother, or your son or daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, "Let us go and worship other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, the gods of the peoples around you, whether near or far," whether from one end of the earth or the other, you must not yield to him or listen to him. Show him no pity, and do not spare him or shield him. Instead, you must surely kill him. Your hand must be the first against him to put him to death, and then the hands of all the people. Stone him to death for trying to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Then all Israel will hear and be afraid, and will never again do such a wicked thing among you. If, regarding one of the cities the Lord your God is giving you to inhabit, you hear it said that wicked men have arisen from among you and have led the people of their city astray, saying, "Let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known," then you must inquire, investigate, and interrogate thoroughly. And if it is established with certainty that this abomination has been committed among you, you must surely put the inhabitants of that city to the sword. Devote to destruction all its people and livestock. And you are to gather all its plunder in the middle of the public square, and completely burn the city and all its plunder as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. The city must remain a mound of ruins forever, never to be rebuilt. Nothing devoted to destruction shall cling to your hands, so that the Lord will turn from his fierce anger, grant you mercy, show you compassion, and multiply you as he swore to your fathers, because you obey the Lord your God. Keeping all his commandments I am giving you today and doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord your God. You are sons of the Lord your God, do not cut yourselves or shave your foreheads on behalf of the dead, for you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord has chosen you to be a people for his prized possession out of all the peoples on the face of the earth. You must not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals that you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. You may eat any animal that has a split hoof divided in two and that chews the cud. But of those that chew the cud or have a completely divided hoof, you are not to eat the following: the camel, the rabbit, or the rock badger. Although they chew the cud, they do not have a divided hoof. They are unclean for you, as well as the pig, though it has a divided hoof, it does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. You must not eat its meat or touch its carcass. Of all the creatures that live in the water, you may eat anything with fins and scales, but you may not eat anything that does not have fins and scales, it is unclean for you. You may eat any clean bird, but these you may not eat: the eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, the falcon, any kind of kite, any kind of raven, the ostrich, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the cormorant, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoof or the bat. All flying insects are unclean for you, they may not be eaten. But you may eat any clean bird. You are not to eat any carcass, you may give it to the foreigner residing within your gates, and he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. You must be sure to set aside 1/10 of all the produce brought forth each year from your fields. And you are to eat 1/10 of your grain, new wine, and oil, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks, in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose as a dwelling for his name, so that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. But if the distance is too great for you to carry that with which the Lord your God has blessed you, because the place where the Lord your God will choose to put his name is too far away, then exchange it for money, take the money in your hand, and go to the place the Lord your God will choose. Then you may spend the money on anything you desire: cattle, sheep, wine, strong drink, or anything you wish. You are to feast there in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice with your household. And do not neglect the Levite within your gates, since he has no portion or inheritance among you. At the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of all your produce for that year and lay it up within your gates. Then the Levite, because he has no portion or inheritance among you, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow within your gates may come and eat and be satisfied. And the Lord your God will bless you in all the work of your hands. At the end of every 7 years you must cancel debts. This is the manner of remission. Every creditor shall cancel what he has loaned to his neighbor. He is not to collect anything from his neighbor or brother, because the Lord's time of release has been proclaimed. You may collect something from a foreigner, but you must forgive whatever your brother owes you. There will be no poor among you, however, because the Lord will surely bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess as an inheritance, if only you obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commandments I am giving you today. When the Lord your God blesses you as he has promised, you will lend to many nations but borrow from none, you will rule over many nations but be ruled by none. If there is a poor man among your brothers within any of the gates in the land that the Lord your God is giving you, then you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from your poor brother. Instead, you are to open your hand to him and freely loan him whatever he needs. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought in your heart. The 7th year, the year of release, is near, so that you look upon your poor brother begrudgingly and give him nothing. He will cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. Give generously to him, and do not let your heart be grieved when you do so. And because of this the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything to which you put your hand. For there will never cease to be poor in the land, that is why I am commanding you to open wide your hand to your brother and to the poor and needy in your land. If a fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, is sold to you and serves you 6 years, then in the 7th year you must set him free. And when you release him, do not send him away empty-handed. You are to furnish him liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. You shall give to him as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you, that is why I am giving you this command today. But if your servant says to you, I do not want to leave you, because he loves you and your household and is well off with you, then take an awl and pierce it through his ear into the door, and he will become your servant for life. And treat your maidservant the same way. Do not regard it as a hardship to set your servant free, because his 6 years of service were worth twice the wages of a hired hand. And the Lord your God will bless you in all you do. You must set apart to the Lord your God every firstborn male produced by your herds and flocks. You are not to put the firstborn of your oxen to work, nor are you to shear the firstborn of your flock. Each year you and your household are to eat it before the Lord your God in the place the Lord will choose. But if an animal has a defect, is lame or blind, or has any serious flaw, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. Eat it within your gates, both the ceremonially unclean and clean may eat it as they would a gazelle or a deer. But you must not eat the blood, pour it on the ground like water. Mark 12 verses 28 to 44. Now one of the scribes had come up and heard their debate. Noticing how well Jesus had answered them, he asked him, which commandment is the most important of all? Jesus replied, this is the most important, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. Right, teacher, the scribe replied. You have stated correctly that God is one and there is no other but him, and to love him with all your heart and with all your understanding and with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Which is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices? When Jesus saw that the man had answered wisely, he said, You are not far from the kingdom of God. And no one dared to question him any further. While Jesus was teaching in the temple courts, he asked, How can the scribes say that the Christ is the son of David? Speaking by the Holy Spirit, David himself declared, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. David himself calls him Lord. So how can he be David's son? And the large crowd listened to him with delight. In his teaching Jesus also said, Watch out for the scribes. They like to walk around in long robes, to receive greetings in the marketplaces, and to have the chief seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They defraud widows of their houses, and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will receive greater condemnation. As Jesus was sitting opposite the treasury, he watched the crowd putting money into it. And many rich people put in large amounts. Then one poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which amounted to a small fraction of a denarius. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more than all the others into the treasury. For they all contributed out of their surplus, but she out of her poverty has put in all she had to live on."